Okay, so today I'm going to talk about panic disorder in reference to ADHD. Now, people with ADHD are more likely to experience anxiety disorders, and that's exactly what essentially panic disorder is. It's an anxiety disorder where people regularly experience intense feelings of anxiety or regular panic attacks or feelings of like doom and gloom. Now, the biggest problem with anxiety disorders of any kind, not just panic disorder and ADHD, is that anxiety is already heavily linked with ADHD. It's a common characteristic of it. Now, for myself, I am anxious almost all the time. But what separates this feeling of anxiety in just general ADHD and actually having a panic disorder is that the panic disorder also basically means that you have a difficulty in relaxing. And that's not difficulty to relax based on like a boundless energy or hyperactivity or impulsivity that comes with ADHD. It's based on intense feelings of worry and anxiety about, well, essentially a number of situations or subjects, whatever it is that worries you or causes you any kind of concern. So now before I probably get into it, that was a brief, they were there. Anyway, I'm going to say if you like the content, you want to see more like this video, then please follow, like, leave a comment, questions in the comments, requests for future videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and repost the video. And now, continuing on. Okay, so personally, I have experienced intense anxiety, and I've had moments where I've been borderline, I won't say borderline panic because I was actually panicking, but more like borderline breakdown over what most people just see as a very simplistic situation that doesn't really warrant an extreme reaction. Now, however, I have not been diagnosed with panic disorder, though sometimes when I think about it, I think maybe I should check or get a diagnosis to see if I have it. But I don't actually experience regular panic attacks, so I don't think I have it, but it's worth a check. Anyway, for anyone who does have panic disorder and ADHD, or even just one of the two, there are of course talking therapies, like I've said before, and medication. In references specifically to anxiety disorders like panic disorder, there are also medications like stimulants, non-stimulants, antidepressants, or even just mental health or self-improvement methods like yoga and meditation and breathing exercises, or exercise in general. Now, for me, sometimes when I feel particularly stressed or anxious, I will take up exercise. Not go to the gym, not schedule a timeout, just right then and there, do something. You know, star jumps, sit-ups, running on the spot, leg lifts, that kind of thing. Anything that will just sort of alleviate the tension in my body, because that's what it feels like. That's the purpose of those. Now, as I said, people with ADHD are more likely to experience anxiety disorders because anxiety is always there. But if it's left untreated or if it's just overlooked, then it can make handling the disorder more difficult. Because, as I've said before, there are always methods, and sometimes self-learned or self-accumulated methods that can help with the symptoms of the characteristics or challenges of ADHD or autism. But at the same time, sorry, it's hard to speak sometimes because there are like words floating around in my head. I feel anxious, in fact, doing these videos sometimes. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do on your own, alright? So you need to look for support. Even if you feel anxious about going to a clinic or going to a doctor's or a professional, because I know plenty of people with ADHD and autism who do. They feel like it's too formal. They feel like almost, for lack of a better phrase or word, almost like they're a lab rat just being studied. Then go to a friend, go to a family member, because there's any number of things. Ultimately, it depends on what works for you. But yes, people with ADHD can experience anxiety disorders are much more likely to experience anxiety disorders and panic disorder than others. Now, I hate it personally when someone sees someone panicking or having what they would call an overreaction to a simple situation and just laugh or brush it off. I've had that happen to me, unfortunately, from people I'm close to as well as people who bullied me. And to say it's not a nice feeling is a bit of an understatement. It feels devastating, actually, because it just makes the anxiety worse. Now, in my case, I struggle to relax sometimes because I'm worried or I'm anxious, depending what's going on in my life, about people I care about usually, or as something linked to my future prospects or career paths that I want, or my education. And it can really cause me a lot of distraction throughout the day. I cannot get it out of my head. I'll try to do hobbies, I'll try to do things to take my mind off, and it won't work. That's where it's very important to have someone who can kind of be your rock in that moment, who can ground you, who can talk you through it. It's good having an outside voice to say essentially what you want to say to yourself. So, yeah, now, there's not a lot to say about panic disorder, to be honest, because it's pretty straightforward. It's about panic attacks, it's about anxiety, and I've talked about that quite a bit in some of my ADHD videos. So, there's not a lot to say. However, I can describe, and perhaps someone who's watching this can relate to this. So, put in the comments, your thoughts on it, your experiences, if you're comfortable with that. I've had moments when it's just something as simple as, say, I've parked the car somewhere, because I do drive, and I parked the car in a disabled bay, I've put up my blue badge, I've gotten the ticket, I've covered all the bases, I've gone to do whatever it is I'm supposed to do, like a medical roleplay, for example, which is something I do often. And then I've come back to the car, and for some inexplicable reason, there's a ticket. Now, as far as I know, there is no reason for that ticket to be there, because I covered all the bases. Perhaps the issue is I haven't put, or I've forgotten to put, like, the ticket I bought on the dashboard, or I've put it on the wrong side, so they might have made the assumption that I'm trying to get away with not buying a ticket, or something like that. But the second is, because I feel like now I'm going to have to pay something when I've covered my bases, I feel like I've forgotten something, I feel like a failure. It's a very quick process of thoughts that's hard to put into words, then will spiral very quickly out of control, and it'll cause me to cry, it'll cause me to panic. I've had times when I've ended up looking around in those situations, almost like for help, but I'm on my own. And it is ultimately devastating, because you don't know what to do. My default thing to do is usually call my mother, and that's because she knows how my thought processes work, and she's taught me through ADHD and autism my entire life, so she understands, and she will then talk me through how the simple steps I need to take. Don't worry, there is always a method around these things, and eventually I calm down. But it could come from social situations as well, like being on your own, or without a friend, or without someone you're close to, and feeling like you need to talk to strangers. I've had panic attacks where I mean crying on the doorway to a bar, and it makes it worse when I feel like people are staring at me. Now, personally, I try not to look at people who panic in front of me like that, because I don't want them to feel what I felt. And I think that's important to keep in mind. Anyway, as I said, there's not a lot more to say about panic disorder, actually. So if you have anything to add to it, then please put that in the comment section. Otherwise, I think this is a good place to end the video. And the next couple of videos, I'm going to focus on these comorbids and ADHD, because I've done a fair few videos now on autism and sensory issues, if you're interested in those. But otherwise, I bid you adieu. I bid you a fair day. Have a good day, and if you like the content, like I said earlier, comment, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, repost this video because it's very helpful. Leave your comments, leave your requests, questions, anything you want in the comment section, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye!